Southwest kids. It is so great to be back together today. I'm so glad that you are back getting ready to learn about God, and we're going to continue our study about Joseph. And if you're getting ready, or if you've had your first day of school or you're geared back up for homeschool, or you're doing school virtually, I just pray for you that you do your very best, and that you make great decisions, and that you are a really, really good friend, and just shine Jesus's light wherever you're at, in whatever situation you're in, okay? So anyway, we'll get started. But last week, we talked about, if you remember, the difference between dreams and visions. And we all have dreams, don't we? Sadie just had a dream the week before. She had a dream that she had told me about, that she dreamed about puppies. And then this week she had a dream that it was Halloween, and she was dressed as a superhero, and I had on a cape and I had on sunglasses, and we had went around all over town with our capes on and being superheroes, but we didn't get any candy. And so that was the dream she had this week. So we all had dreams, but we did talk about the difference in visions that we read about in the Bible, and that a vision is different than a dream. And visions were from God, and they were either a warning or they were a message that God wanted to give his people. But today we don't have visions, do we? We have dreams. We all have dreams, but we don't have visions. Because how do we get our messages from God today? We get our messages. How do we get our messages from God? Yeah, through the Bible. And if we read all about the Bible, we'll see what God wants us to do, how he wants us to act, how he wants to save us, how to get to heaven. All the important things that we need to know are in the Bible. So, and that's how we get the message from God today. So, we started back in Genesis 37, 1 through 11, in the last couple of weeks, and where it talked about how Jacob, Joseph's dad, had given him a beautiful coat. Remember that coat of many colors? And it was so pretty. And but in the Bible, it said that Joseph's brothers hated him. And it's because of that coat, and because mainly it wasn't actually the coat probably that they hated him so bad. They just hated him because they knew that their dad loved him most of all, and they just hated Joseph for that. And then to kind of add salt to the wound, after Joseph had got that coat, then Joseph had those dreams, those two dreams, where the sheaves were bowing down, and then the moon and the stars were bowing down. And he went and told his brothers and his parents, so excited about these dreams. And they were like, "Are you telling us we're going to bow down to you?" And so they just hated him all the more, it said. So, but then we read also Genesis 37. We keep going throughout that chapter 12 through 36. And it says that his brothers, instead of killing Joseph, they were so angry and hated him so bad, they wanted to kill him. But they actually didn't. They told their father that he had gotten eaten by a wild animal, and they had dipped his coat in goat's blood, and so it looked all bloody. But actually what they had done is they had sold him. They put him in a well, and then they decided to sell him. And so they had sold him to some Midianites that were passing by in a caravan. Well, then after the Midianites got to Egypt, then they sold Joseph again to Potiphar. And Potiphar was one of Pharaoh's officials, okay? So it's like somebody, Pharaoh was the king, and he had the next in charge person. And that next in charge person is very important as well. But that person bought Joseph, okay? And so Joseph, he's kind of in a lot of trouble, isn't he? So his brothers hate him. They've sold him. He's being sold again. And is there just any hope for him at this point? Should he just be like, giving up on his faith in God, giving up on the message that God sent him? Should he give up on all that? Because he's not in a good place. Well, I don't think he should, and I bet you don't think you should either. But I'm going to read Genesis 39, 1 through 4 says, Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. And when his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. And Potiphar put him in charge of his household and entrusted him to his care for everything he owned. So Joseph is hated by his brothers. He gets put in a well, then sold to some Midianites. Then the Midianites sold him again. Potiphar is the one who bought him. Potiphar sees that he loves God and that he is blessed by God. And he thinks, if he's blessed because of God, then I think I'll be blessed because of God. So he puts him in charge of everything. Can you imagine that? Joseph was so down on his luck. Everybody hated him, but now he's in charge of a bunch. He's in charge of this man's whole household. Okay? So Potiphar, who was a powerful official in Pharaoh's court, bought Joseph. And God used Joseph's good character to give him success. And Potiphar trusted him enough to give him responsibility for running his whole household. No dream is too big for God when he is leading our lives. All right, and then we're going to keep on going in that chapter 39, 20 through 23 says, Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him, and he showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison wardens. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those who held in prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. All right. He probably didn't feel like he was having success. He had to go to jail this time, and he probably thought, this is horrible. But, it's just sometimes the way we see things. We just have to take opportunities and use them wherever we're at, whatever opportunity we've been placed in. We have to use it for God, and God always makes everything okay. But God was still fulfilling his plan. Okay, so I'm sorry, I messed that up. But unfortunately, Potiphar's wife, she was not as nice as Potiphar was, okay? And she was a liar. And she had accused Joseph of trying to hurt her. And Potiphar believed her. Of course, he probably would. He put Joseph in Pharaoh's jailhouse. How discouraged Joseph must have been. But God hadn't abandoned Joseph, had he? Nope, he was still using Joseph to fulfill his plan because Joseph loved and trusted God, and God gave him success in whatever he did. All right. Then you go to Genesis 40, and I'm not going to read the whole chapter to y'all, but Pharaoh was the king of Egypt, and he got mad at two of his workers, okay, the cupbearer and the baker. And two of his workers, so he threw them in prison because he got mad at them. And guess who was in charge of them in prison? Yep, it was Joseph. And in verse 5, it says, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream this same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Okay, so here's the dreams again, okay? And then if we read on verses 12 through 15, it says, this is what it means, Joseph said to him. 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head and restore you to your position, and you will be put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were with the cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, please remember and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. For I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I've done nothing to deserve to be put in this dungeon. So he said, here, God's gonna help me with these dreams. I'm gonna interpret them. And please just remember me. Help me get out of this prison. So Joseph interpreted the cupbearer's dream, and they just got, and all he asked was to be remembered and to help him out of prison. And then the baker also told Joseph his dream, and Joseph told the baker what his dream was going to mean. And in verses 20 through 23, it said, now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So all Joseph asked in return for interpreting those dreams was to please tell Pharaoh about him so he could get out of prison. All right. So if you keep reading on through chapter 41, 15 through 27, God was still fulfilling his plan for Joseph through dreams. This time, though, the dreams of 2 prisoners and the mighty ruler of Egypt, Pharaoh. When Joseph interpreted the dreams of the baker and the cupbearer, he didn't take any credit. He gave the glory to God. And when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, he focused all of the attention on God. It wasn't Joseph's knowledge of dreams that helped him interpret their meanings. It was the knowledge of God. After interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, Joseph outlined God's plan for Egypt's survival. They would have to work hard for 14 years to make these dreams come true. Pharaoh liked Joseph's plan and recognized that Joseph was a man whom was with the Spirit of God. And he put him in charge of his own house and the entire land of Egypt. Okay, so he started in the well and got sold. His brothers hated him. He got sold as a slave, became Potiphar's in charge of everything, got put in prison, was put in charge of the entire prison after he was still in prison. Potiphar gets him out of prison and puts him in charge of his whole household and in the entire country, okay? So, I mean, God just kept working and kept working and kept working in Joseph's lives. And that's what he does in our life too. He just works and works and works for us all the time. We are so blessed to have God in our life to do that for us. But in Psalms 46:1, it says, God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. And then in Romans 8:28, it says, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Okay, so we have a quiet peace and a confidence that we do not have to face our problems alone, do we? The one who loves us beyond measure will help us get through any trial or any problem. And with God's help, with his peace and with his wisdom and strength and character through adversity, we can be confident that God will help us through all of that. So, Joseph's attitude was one of humble confidence in himself and in God, okay, in the God whom he served. And Joseph used every setback to build his faith and to be a good example to others about God's love and how God cares for us. And when sold as a slave, Joseph's master's Potiphar saw that the Lord was with him and gave him success in everything he did. And being thrown into prison, the warden came to trust Joseph and gave him increasing responsibilities. But even Pharaoh, considered by the Egyptians to be almost like a god with a small g, he said, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" Joseph's life is a beautiful example of one who faced challenges after challenges after challenges after challenges, and with dignity and grace and confidence and trust in the loving Father that he would take care of him. So that's what you can do too. You can trust God that he is always going to do what he can to help you. You have to help yourself and try to make good decisions and always do your very best. And then God will do his best for you as well. Okay, you guys have a great week. Bye.